All right, welcome everyone. Today is October 26th and Monday with Masami again. So I'll be doing a Monday with Masami till November, what is it? And yeah, November 9th. So today's October 26th. Yeah. All right. And I thought maybe we'll get started with a little bit of settling in. We had the snowstorm yesterday after weeks of fires. So that's really helpful. And we had about, I think maybe 6 to 8 inches or so. So it was really nice to wake up this morning, just totally quiet and beautiful snow. So I am definitely half Norwegian Finnish. So I love the snow. So I'm not a hot, humid type of place person. So today it was just like, oh, yes, I'm home. And for those of you that know that, I go outside, um, rain, shine, snow, who knows, a hail, storm, whatever. I'm always outside first thing in the morning. And, my husband thinks I'm nuts, but my fingers are like freezing. But I just love that sensation of like different temperatures are talking to me. So I went out there and did my breathing exercise. So it was really fun. So hopefully all of you are, playing with the season change. And it's wonderful, isn't it, to have seasonal change? Can you imagine if it was like always hot? There's no way I can handle that. So just really enjoy the shifts and changes of life. All right. So let's start with just kind of getting back into your body, sits bones on your chair or wherever, cushion or wherever. And if you like to close your eyes, feel free to do that or just look a little bit ahead of you. And I thought it might be nice to kind of revisit the hand meditation. And first, let's just imagine that your right hand is struggling, and maybe your right hand got injured, or maybe your right hand is colder than your left hand. What would the left hand do for that right hand? Probably will place the left hand over the right hand and comfort it and attend to it. So just attend to your right hand for a moment. And if you could find a pulse, that would be great. If not, no big deal. Just notice the sensations around the left hand, comforting and loving and caring and listening to your right hand. What would the right hand say to you? What is it saying to you? And go ahead and slowly now shift your imagination towards your left hand, going through some tough times, or maybe left hand had to lift more than the right hand today. Maybe it was trying to speak to you, but you weren't listening. So it could use some quiet time so it can speak to you. So now switch that. So the right hand now goes over to the left hand to attend to that needs and comforting. The right hand absolutely loves the left hand unconditionally. Just breathing into that hand from the right hand, breathing out into the left hand. Just a quiet, slow breath. We're not doing a ujjayi breath or Nothing crazy right now, just a quiet, settling down breath. And just one more. And now place one hand at your fourth chakra and the other one on the second chakra. And just connect, feeling both hands. If you're multitasking right now, just put that down. Pay attention to your inner silence. There's a lot of external noise out there, so just come back to your inner silence. And maybe two more deep, slow, quiet breaths. Good. Go ahead and just release and just soak in that. Just that soak in that deliciousness, the scrumptiousness of you, the delightful silence of you that's always in you. It's hard to find it these days, but because it's so noisy out. You are here. You are here. So do that practice. The hand meditation is really good when you feel very lonely, or when you feel a sense of just like nobody understands me, or I am so alone in this. You're never alone in this. You have trillions of microbes that are with you all the time. Your pulsation, your lymphatic system, your one hand approaches the other to comfort it. Okay. You're always in this collective. All right. So don't you forget it, everyone. All right, so I wanted to start today with a couple questions that came in. And one was a little bit of a comment from last week's handstands. And for those of you that are new, you can listen to my call from last Monday. But it was a question about, she wanted to do a handstand by next March. And I think that's a really great, interesting goal that we've been in touch about. And, I'm a yoga therapist, and I do a lot of somatic work. So it's kind of interesting to know that that's what she wants to do by March. And any of you that are new to working with me, I've been putting this out for everybody, is that I would love for you to have a goal, something that you want to become as you are going of the 2020, as you're releasing the 2020. I want you to have a goal for the end of March. There'll be a couple different times in next year that's going to be a big kind of a turning point. One is going to be towards the end of February. It's going to be a big one, but that's when you really want to readjust your goals for the March. Okay. And another one's going to come mid-June. And another big shift is going to be around Christmas next year. Okay. So those 2 points, you might want to write it down. So like a mid-February to late February is a big one, but that's the one that you really want to recheck with yourself to see, am I on track with the March goal? And you're going to start thinking about what is it that you are wanting to manifest by the end of March. And then June, mid-June is going to be another check-in point, and then end of December. So somehow it's the end of the December for next year. So, we'll go through that next year, but I just wanted you to know if you could put it on the calendar. So with a handstand, I actually told her that I wanted to share one more thing about it. And she wrote me an email, because I don't know any of you remember, but I mentioned that I sensed that she was having a fear of money with it. So this is what she wrote. I'm just going to read a one paragraph out of this email. She said she was listening to it again of my Monday call, and she realized that I was answering her question. And she said, with a few minutes, you were answering my question. And when you said fear of money, I literally screamed and my hand slapped over my mouth momentarily. The tears were flowing and I was doing the silent scream thing. Chills were going through me. You got me. You called me out. I had been found out. I think there were dark edges to this sort of secret I never spoke about. But yes, it is time to start creating a new relationship with money and my body and get my house in order, so to speak. So there's, several more things she said, but I just thought it was really fun. And I wanted to tell her one more thing is that headstand is, if you look up other words for headstands, it's head over heels, right? Because your heels are going to come over your head, right? And as many of you know, the head over heels means, oh, she's going to fall in love with who she is. And I'm so excited for her because as she prepares and as she starts to unfold and peel away at her fear towards finance and starts to get strong in her second chakra, because she's going to flip the second chakra higher than her, other chakras, right? Literally head over heels. She's going to truly fall in love with who she is. So I am cheering for her, and I really want her to get going on her financial fears. And it just we get into patterns with money, don't we? Money is a big one for a lot of us, and probably it would be a good topic to talk about at some point a little bit more in detail. But the fear of money is not just yours to carry, it's your parents, particularly your immediate parents, but even like several generations back, we are going to carry that information around money. And this goes beyond, trying to clear the ideas like money doesn't grow on tree, or, that kind of concepts. Those are fine to work on, but it's much, much deeper. And I'll give you an example of one thing that I've worked on myself that I think has made a tremendous difference in my financial life. Is the deepest fear that I had was to come out like this onto a screen and talk. And I didn't even have a Facebook page till like this year, right? So that's how much I did not want to be out in the world. And people have always said, people wanted to market me forever. And, they wanted to call me Masami Yoga, and we're going to create this logo. And so I've had so many people approach me, but I just didn't like this idea. But what I realized was that my fear was speaking in English, believe it or not. Okay. I know I could talk for hours, but the fact is, I was nervous about speaking in English in front of people. And I was a public speaker in Japan for years. And I had my radio show and things like that. So speaking in front of people is not that difficult for me. It's just, I didn't want to sound stupid. But this year I decided, you know what? Who cares? So what? I forget to put S's and does and uhs. Okay. So, I spoke Japanese. So Japanese and English are like ocean apart, literally, right? They don't even share anything remotely similar to each other's languages. And in Japan, the word apple is always just apple. If you had half an apple, it's still apple. If you have a box of apples, it's still apple. Do you get the point? So it's like we never put the does, we never put an, we never put s's. So that's the part that really I have the hardest time with still. But I decided, you know what? Enough is enough, Masami. You got to go out there and share your knowledge, and you got to go out there and support people. So I did. And it's made the world of difference. That's why you're all here, right? So if I didn't come out, you wouldn't have found me. It was just all word of mouth. It was like a secret society was going around me. And I thought, you know what, enough with the secret society. I didn't even have hand gestures that they needed to enter the room with. So here it is. Anyway, so fear. So I would love for all of you to think about what is that you want to like go upside down with? What are you willing to flip, right? So that was something I talked about last week. It's what are you willing to empty out? What are you willing to let go of? And we're going to go a little bit more in detail here. And, feel free to share what you're letting go of, because last week I gave you all homework, right? Some of the things that you say to yourself, things like never or always. I told you that I always thought nobody's ever going to understand who I am. Well, okay, that is such an ego speaking. If I didn't reach out to people, how would they know who I am, right? So those are the things we talked about last time. And another question and the comment that came in that I thought this is appropriate right now is she did a private session just a few days ago, and she emailed me because she was already feeling so much better. It didn't surprise me, but she got going on it. I gave her multiple suggestions. She started getting going on them immediately, and she started to feel so good right away. So she's like, oh my God, I'm feeling great. But she was finishing her email saying, basically, she was feeling scared to share this email with me of this good news, because she said, I don't want to go back to how I felt before. So I just want you to pause and think about this. How much that happens to you? It's like, oh my God, is this real? Can it last? I feel so fabulous, and I can't believe I'm having this wonderful, joyful experience. Is this going to last? Should I be sharing it? Maybe this is something, when I tuned into her, what I felt was like when you were young, and I'm going to just talk to you directly, but when you were young, you were told that the magic only lasts for a few seconds. It's like fireworks. Watch it while you can, and then the spark's over. Somewhere deep inside you, you were taught that don't get too excited about it because it could get taken away from you. And perhaps some things did get taken away from you. So I don't want you to bring that kind of same response into the body and how the body wants to shift. These good feelings, I look at it in the healing process that you're going to go through. You're meant to go through this. You're meant to feel awesome so that you can experience life fully. Because this is just the beginning of this journey. And I just don't want you to, I said, inner joy is how you contribute to the world, is what I wrote. So when you feel joyful inside, when you feel fabulous, and when you have so much energy and flow, that's when you get to go outside and support with your whatever you do. I know what you do, but whether you're a teacher, or you're a hairdresser, or you're a politician, or you're a mother, or you're a social worker, or you're a volunteer, you work at a grocery store, whatever, you bring your joy into that space. So don't ever, don't go there. Catch it before you go there. It's like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Well, why the heck not? Why not? Why not you? Why not you feel awesome? Because more you feel that way, vibrational fields expands, and then I get to feel that. Look how joyful I became by reading your email. Okay, so keep on. And I think we tend to focus, and I know this, I know all of you know this, we tend to focus on the negativity because the negativity bias in our minds. Our brains are wired for negativity bias because that's the only reason that our human race has existed this long. Do you know what I mean? If you didn't have the negativity bias wiring in your brain, you would have been walking by a lion thinking, oh, nice, cute little kitty cat. You would not be here today. All right. So you said, oh my gosh, there's danger in that. You've witnessed danger before. You've seen your uncle get eaten. Okay, I don't know if it was your uncle, but so it's like, so negativity bias is what keeps you alive. So it's fabulous. But when you stay with that negative bias, you get fearful. You start to feel like, I'm not good enough. I can't do this because how could it be so good? All right. No, you start to teach yourself and say, okay, I need to be careful about that kitty cat. Okay. However, I also can have a joyful moment under the sun because I am here to enjoy my life. So start to distinguish. Am I getting fearful about the lion, or am I getting fearful about really fully loving my life? But be gentle with your mind. Your brain is wired that way. So you have to start to create different practice. And many of you know my practice, right? The acronym is HEAL, right? Having beneficial experience, and you think about that, right? And then you go into enriching that experience. And sometime I'll take you through the HEAL practice. If I have time today, I will. And then A is to absorb that deeper into you. And L stands for linking that, having a beautiful experience with the experience that is challenging or doubtful or fearful, and link it to that. So you're starting to neuroplasticity, wiring it differently. And I'll do more of this on, if any of you that have signed up for my 4 live courses, I'll definitely take you through that. But just remember how to link it. You can link good beneficial experiences with some of your fear and doubts. And it's okay to have those because you're a human being. All right. So those are a couple of the things I wanted to go over. And then I'm hoping Chris will show up at some point. Oh, hey, Chris is here, right? Yeah, good. All right. He was at a meeting. So I'm going to go and share what I have written about it for this week, because this is a big one, everyone. Ready for this? Okay. So this is the death of 2020 is this week. Okay. And if you hear the word death and you immediately go into like a lower vibration, okay, you need to just stay with it and go, why? Okay, so just think about it. If every plant continuously grew, okay, and you had trees that never shed leaves, what would happen to this world? You probably won't be here. This earth will be just a jungle. Okay, so the death is very important. Release is very important. Shedding is very important. So that's what's happening. And we're going to go through a New Year's Eve, the day before Halloween, right? And then Halloween is going to be Friday on a Saturday. And that's when you are going to be celebrating the new birth of 2021 that is coming in. So don't wait till January 1st to start doing this work, okay? And making sure that you're starting to shed things now. Okay, so this is the birthing of the beginning of 2021 coming, and that's the full moon also. So that's fabulous. This is going to be a very powerful weekend. I am excited as well, and as well as like kind of like wondering what's going to come to teach me this week. Okay, I'm not nervous, but I'm just like, what's out there to teach me? And so it's a shifting of the season, great time of the year to get in touch with your ancestors. This is fantastic this week. Okay. Write down, what do you need help from your guides, your angels, your intuitions, your ancestors. What do you need help from? And be specific, because ancestors and your guides do not do well with non-specific. Oh, I wish my life is better. ... Okay, well, that's not going to help. Okay. They really like specific stuff. So go into that. It's the veil is lifting this week and into this weekend. So take some time, and I've been really talking about this since September and October, throughout these 2 months, about releasing, shedding old patterns, because of the Mars retrograde means your old ego is shedding, your old ego, old storyline, your narratives. That's all starting to get removed, right? And then, yes, we're in a Mercury retrograde as well. So this is a really good time to revisit old patterns. And what can you remove? Literally from your closet, but also in your own lifestyles. So then I posted some questions on the email that I sent to all of you. But it's about, what have I been letting go of this year? Maybe write those down. What have I downplayed or ignored in my life that I need to face now? That's a big one. What have you been ignoring? Okay. For me, big one was I've been not wanting to come out there in the world, but I have finally plunged. And I didn't start with the shallow end of the swimming pool either. I decided to just go to the deep end. And maybe sometimes that's what you have to do. And what do I really need to put my energy or investments toward that will support my ultimate expression? So you want to find out, what is my ultimate expression by March of 2021, right? That's your first goal. Don't think too much ahead of that. Just by March, what do you want to see your expression to be? Okay. And the couple more questions is, what is the one thing that is interfering with my becoming, with me becoming who I am meant to be? So what is the one thing that is interfering with me becoming who I am meant to be? And for me, it was this kind of outdated, outmoded thinking that I can't convey my thoughts clearly with this language. And that's total BS, right? You can understand me totally fine. So that's the one thing that I really needed to let go this year. And the last question is, what is holding me back? And this is where I wanted to go a little bit more in detail. Okay. What is holding you back? Because there's some things that are holding you back. And let me just kind of list some of them, because they are certain relationships that you have within yourself, but with others also. So it's like the story you tell yourself, obviously, subconscious part of you, or the areas that you numbed up about deep fear that you have. Okay. Maybe certain relationships that you have with the certain reactions with the certain information. Whenever you hear the word death, you start to go, oh my God, I reacted. Okay, well then maybe that's what you need to go and revisit, why you're reacting so much to that. Okay. So this is to, go a lot deeper with that last question, right? That what is holding me back? And let me just read off of some of the other relationships that I would love for you to pay attention to. Another one is, as a nutritional therapist, food is a big one. And, whenever I get the questions like, how come, like on John Burgos' show, it's like, the dairy foods make me phlegmy, and I had to stop and think about that for a while after I got off the call. And I was like, you know what? Underneath that question, that person was actually blaming the food, right? Well, the cheese has changed in how they're processed in this country, in the United States. But before we point the finger at food, okay, we need to look at our bodies and say, well, we're not processing this food really well in my body. I'm not digesting it. So why do I keep feeding that same information? Food is information. So why am I keep doing that? So then that's what got me thinking, is that the person that asked me that question has an attachments to what her life used to be. And it's showing up on her food questions like that. And it's like the cheese is not working for her, but she want to keep finding ways to eat them. Okay. Because I want it. It's foods, cheese should be adjusting to me. Cheese should be adapting to me. Okay. That means she's attached to what her story used to be. So possibly she uses the language like, well, I used to be da da da. I used to do this. I used to think this way. I used to do this kind of a work. And I used to, maybe live here and there. And so the I used to be language is a lot going on, I suspect, with that question, behind that question. So I'd love for all of you to think about the relationship you have around food and questions you ask around food. Okay. Obviously, relationship that you have with lifestyle and energy, sleep, pain, toxic relationships that you have around yourself and within yourself, relationships you have around your future goals. Okay. Maybe you're saying, oh, I can't make goals because I don't know. Maybe I just have to make sure that my family's taken care of first. So you don't put your goal first. Okay. Or a relationship that you have around asking for help. Maybe you just don't have a good flow around asking for help. And for me, I had to ask for a lot of help this year because this was so new to me and I'm learning a lot. But I also had to ask people and say, could you teach me about this? How do I set up a Facebook page? I mean, that's how I started. Okay. A relationship you have with the karma. What does that mean? How's the karma weaving into your life? Relationship you have around fear, with fear, purpose. Do you have a relationship with your purpose? Do you have a relationship with your commitment? And when you say, I'm going to do this, do you do it? Or do you back out? Are you one of those people that say, oh yeah, let's get together, and then never follow through? Well, and then you turn around and say, well, nobody contacts me, or I'm just so alone. Well, maybe that's the place that you need to go and shed and revisit. Other things are, do you have a good relationship with the reality. What is a reality? What is your financial reality? What is your health reality? Do you need to lose weight? And do you have a commitment to doing so? Do you want to make more money? Do you have a commitment to doing so? Do you want to have a lasting relationship? What are you doing about it? So get real with it, okay? And relationship you have with spiritual practices, spiritual circles, people around you, relationship you created around yourself in terms of boundaries, inner boundaries, external boundaries, business that you have or jobs that you have. Let's see, other things I've listed are like truth and faith. What kind of relationships you have with faith? Do you have faith? Do you know your truth? Okay. Also meaning that you put on to certain things. Okay. And story, relationship that you have around your stories. Are you willing to change your stories? Are you willing to revisit your stories? Being okay with not reading that story again? Okay. And relationships you have with forgiveness. And I've said this many months ago that the forgiveness, inability to forgive, and not having forgiveness practice in your daily life, or occasionally visit that, can create really toxic stuff in your body. And a lot of people who are sick have not done the forgiveness practice for themselves, for others also. Okay. And I talked about finance and debt. So I will stop there for a moment. Obviously, I have a lot more I can say, but remember that this is the week. It's really important, everyone, before October is over, please do this, that you take the time to visit what needs to unfold, what needs to be released, what needs to be flushed out, what needs to get boxed up and given away, or things that you don't need to be revisiting, and create a better understanding of what are your values, how much are you it's like even like a paychecks too. It's like, are you getting what you're worth? Who are you and what are you contributing to the world? And is that coming around in the amount that you feel like it's a reflection of who you are? Okay. And just a couple more things before I pause is that this is the time that there's a lot of shedding going on, as well as revisiting some of the values about pauses, silence, time for contemplative practice. Do you have quieting time? Do you have time that you get to just journal? Do you have time you could just be still and be in your own being? Do you have time to create? Just kind of touch upon those things. And then also when you're going through your own list of things that I've mentioned, and some of them might have been like, oh yeah, I want to work on that. When you work on that, could you please look into what kind of a saboteurs do you have? Because we all have saboteurs in us, right? That's one of our archetypes. We also downplay certain realities. And we also have repression that we create. We repress certain emotions. We don't tend to let that come out. You don't need to show the world about it, but maybe you need a journal. And then the last archetype that, one of the archetypes that I often talk about because it impacted my life so much for the last several decades was the archetype of prostitute. Okay. And when I say the word prostitute, some of you will be like, oh my God, what is she talking about? But just to remember what I mean by prostitute as an archetype is that it's somebody that is selling something out into the world, right? Basically, I have a certain skills or skill sets, and then I'm putting that out there in exchange for money, right? In exchange for something, time, whatever. But it's like you want to stop and say, am I getting the fair exchange? Or what I'm sharing really vibrationally a fit for who I am? Or am I going into the prostitute archetype that is too much and that I'm just selling myself short and getting exhausted? Because I've been down that road. Okay. I used to work pretty much 7 days a week, and I don't do that anymore. But there's a lot of just giving away who I am in terms of time and my knowledge, and not charging people enough, or saying yes to all the time. When people call me or they have questions, I would just answer them day and night, and to have a limitations, that's very also important too. Okay. So I will pause there for a moment, and maybe Chris, and for those of you that do not know Chris is my lovely husband. If you want to show up on the screen, you can. Chris, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. Let's see if there were any questions that came in or any thoughts on that. Anyone? Nothing. It's clear as a mud.
No, there were some good comments that
Oh,
came
good. I
in.
would love to hear it. Yeah.
I'm going to just back up a little bit. It was something that Colleen said earlier about giving up the illusion of control and embrace what wants to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That was really a nice way to say it.
Mm.
I think that applies to a lot of the things that you've said. And I'm sorry, everyone, I just taught a class for the last 2.5 hours and my voice is a little raspy at the moment. But I'll do my
You're
best.
still sexy to me, honey bunny.
So looks like you inspired Hannah to go and get some new cheese this weekend from Whole Foods.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let me just see. I'm just scanning through and good. Some feedback on the prostitute archetype. I think maybe you could say more about that and maybe just why that's such an important one to come to terms with.
And I'm assuming that most people are showing up today are women as well. So we bring in a lot of feminine energy into this archetype also. I'm not saying that the men don't have the prostitute archetype, but I think just because the nature of women, we tend to be givers, right? There's a lot of giving that happens in our own lives, and people that, women that work full time, they come home and they're still giving, right? And we tend to take on multiple roles as, whatever you do in your job role. And then you come home and you could be a mother, you could be a wife, you could be and then you could be a daughter who's doing the caregiving and a caretaking also. And so on, and a sister that is always listening to your siblings, or so there are just so many. And then girlfriends getting together and then sharing, and you might be the one that they come to you a lot. Okay. A lot of the empaths and sensitives tend to go down that road because we're so sensitive. We're good listeners. We do listen and we feel it in our bodies, like what they're feeling. So we tend to lean into that the person that's speaking to you's pain and suffering. We feel it in our own bodies. So a lot of us get approached, right? So what happens is that you end up giving away your power. And in my case, with my work, it became literally, I felt like there are days that, I hate to say it, but I just felt like I was naked. And I felt almost like I needed to brush off all this stuff I picked up. And this is when I used to have an office in Denver, and I would see, a lot of people in person, and I'll do a lot of hands-on work. And I was absolutely wiped out. But it's just, I had this thing, like, I need to keep going. I need to keep going. It's never enough, never enough, never enough. So I think the prostitute archetype tends to go with comments like, I don't have enough. I'm not enough. It's never enough. If I don't do it, who's going to do it? Those are some of the language that the ego mind will use to keep the whip on your, nice butt, right? And it just whips you and go work more, do more, because everybody needs you, first of all. And then because you're not enough. So that's what feeds the prostitute archetype. And not that the prostitute archetype is always negative. There's a shadow side and there's a light side, right? The light side is that the prostitute knows what she or he can give to the world that is uniquely his or hers. Does that make sense? That what you have is solely yours, and then you're good at it, and you can shine as who you are. So that's why you put yourself out there. But that can become a vicious circle if the ego is saying to you, you don't have enough, you're not enough, you're always wanted. If you don't do it, who's going to do it? Okay. So these days, I just don't really care if the dishes are washed every night. I just really don't care anymore. Yeah, it's all right if my socks are mismatched and I'm still wearing the pajama pants. I just really don't care. So it's the sense of like, I don't really care that much. It's a really good place. Then that's when you can just sit back and go, you know what? I'm good today. I don't need to show up all the time and sell myself, right? So I hope that makes sense. Chris, did that make sense?
Yeah. And, it reminded me of, I'm going to put up a question that a mentor of mine asked me several years ago. And at the time, I'm going to put it up right now. The question was, what do you uniquely offer the world of tomorrow? What do you uniquely offer the world of tomorrow? And
Love that.
when he asked me that question, I had nothing. I had no answer. Nothing even came to mind, or maybe 100 things came to mind, but it wasn't clear. And this is the power of this inquiry process, and these questions that Masami is suggesting to look at is they don't all have answers right now, but they will at some point. And I think that this is one of those questions too, is that maybe you don't know right now what you have to uniquely offer the world of tomorrow now, but give it some time and keep paying attention to these other questions, and I think you will start to see what that is. And so we're seeing in the chat here, I don't know if you want to get into any of the specifics around like individual health questions or
yeah, we can do that in about a couple minutes. But,
okay. No, there are a lot of good comments coming through. Just people,
and then I think what do you? I love that. What do you uniquely? And the key word is uniquely offer the world of tomorrow, and maybe write down offer the world of tomorrow, and in parentheses March 2021. Remember, everyone, that's our main focus right now. What are you working towards March 2021? And I don't know why that's so important to me, but my inner voice has been saying that for months at me. It's like, tell everybody March 2021. Okay. So really start thinking about that and don't make it into a giant thing. If it means something small, that's okay. Something small doesn't mean it's giant to a little ant. Okay. So it's a perspective. And don't ever judge yourself like that. Start somewhere small. And there's a saying in Japanese, chiri mo tsumoreba yamato naru. But chiri mo tsumoreba yamato naru means the little dust flakes. If you keep adding to it, it can become a mountain. It can become a Mount Fuji. All right. So that's what you're working on, little by little. And hold on.
Can I just add, I want to say one thing too. I just noticed a comment from Lynn about listening and letting go of past disappointments with herself and others. And it just reminded me of, there's this great line from Rumi where he says that a hand that cannot open or close is a crippled hand. So a hand that cannot open or close is a crippled hand. And the idea being that if we're always grasping, so our hands are always closed and holding on to things, or if they're always open, we're always trying to welcome new things, we're not really getting the most out of that function of hand. It can do a lot more. So we have to constantly open and let go. And we have to hold, and then we have to let go of things. We have to take them and let go of them over and over, so that we're allowing new things in, and we're allowing that function of the hand energy to do its work in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And really, please, everyone, take the time this week to do this. It will make a world of difference for you next year. And next year is already coming. Okay. It's like it's marbling in. Okay. So it's not, don't wait till January 1st and say, oh, a new idea. Okay. No, you've got to start reevaluating yourself. What are some of the depths of your old patterns that you can let go of, old patterns, old purposes, old beliefs, old triggers. Triggers are big. Okay. So if you hear the words like money or finance or debt, what does that do to your body? Different words, say it to yourself and go, oh, wow, that vibrated right in my second chakra, or that did not feel good. Or the certain words are like, oh, that feels amazing. Then, it's not to say, don't attend to the things that don't feel good. That's the stuff that you need to attend. But you want to bring some of the powerful, like I said, having the beneficial experience, have some of the good experiences and marble that into the difficult things and say, I have the power to take care of my debt. I have the power to look at my finances. I have the power to do a headstand because I'm going to fall in love with myself head over heels. Okay. And I think that's good. I can go on and on, but that's enough to share about it this week. And just remember that this is a turning week, that the veil is lifting. And the fact is, you're going to have to change anyway. Come November is a big one, but the December, things are going to make you change. So it's better that you are already changing. So when the changes really hit you, you don't get hit hard. Okay. So that's good. And then, so let's go through some questions.
So there was a question from Sharon about what you might recommend for someone who has leaky gut and possible parasites on and off, was the specific question.
Okay. That's a big question, actually. It's such a huge protocol that's really hard for me to just kind of give you like, just do this, kind of a thing. That will be a little bit of a disservice to me to just tell you that. But I'm just going to assume that this is you. I hope that's okay. Because when you do the someone questions, it really doesn't help me to like tune in to that person. Okay. It's so helpful if you could just like, if I know who the heck I'm tuning into. What I can tell you is that the digestive power is really weakened, and the digestive power sits right on your third chakra. So it's right in the stomach, right? And your third chakra is the culmination of thousand sun coming together. I mean, think about thousand sun coming together right in your third chakra. How powerful that is. Okay. No wonder this is the center of your self-esteem. This is the center of who you are. This is your center of commitment to be what you're here to shine as. So I would go to the third chakra first before I even address the leaky gut, because the leaky gut is a problem of your upper GI issues. So I would definitely look into, are you eating the largest meal at lunch? That's number one. You cannot eat your largest meal at dinner and hope to God that you're going to have a good health, because you're not going to. Okay. You have to eat the largest meal at lunch. When the sun is up, you can digest foods. Okay. So that's one. And number two, I would check in with your stomach acid level and make sure that you are having enough power, acidity in your gut that can digest and break down the proteins and break down the fats and break down the fiber and send signals to different organs to release enzymes and whatnot, bile and things like that, to make the food digest. Okay. So it's too big of a question, to be honest with you. Okay. But right now, that's where I would go. Is your lunch the largest meal? Number one. Number two, are you getting enough stomach acid support? Things like betaine hydrochloric acid, right? Betaine hydrochloric acid. And are you getting enough good sea salt in your diet? Those are very, very important things to create stomach acid. All right. So hopefully that's helpful.
So do you want to do a little bit of a lightning round with a couple of questions?
Yeah, do it.
Just popped up. Well, I first want to say a comment that Colleen shared is that iodine is starting to do its magic. It's reduced the amount of bioidentical hormones by half already.
Colleen, we only talked on I think less than a month ago. Holy crap, I'm so excited for you. Okay, one of these days, everyone, we are going to do an iodine workshop. I'm thinking about it. I'm working on it. So I will do an iodine workshop. But, oh, I'm so excited for you. Okay.
Okay, a couple other ones. Let's see. Ilka had the next question, which was if she's following the suggestions that you've already given her, I'm assuming, about her health, then she's just, I think, just checking to see if she'll be okay now, but she's wondering if you think she might need to do any colonic type of
So Ilka,
treatment.
you have not really worked with me. You've been asking me a bunch of questions on all these calls. So it's so like a sample with you. Okay. And I just have to be really direct with you. Okay. It's like going to a giant buffet at Vegas hotel and you're tasting all kinds of things and then saying to me, do you think I can digest all this stuff? Well, okay. And, it's like you really kind of have to pick and say, I'm going to go into a full course with this meal. Okay. And you go into a French restaurant and you're going to order the French course from the beginning to the end kind of thing. It's like sampling is going to produce sampling results. That's what I have for you. It's like you can sample till the cows come home. But in the end, I don't know because I don't exactly know what you're doing. Okay. I just get sample information from you. And, you're getting a little bit stuck on, okay, I've talked to you about sugar issues, but I think I remember you saying that you're still not able to let go of the sugar. So I don't know how much of it have you been doing. There's a level of commitment. So the health is equal to the level of commitment. Okay. If you're just sampling, you're going to get a sampling results. So I say commit to a certain, restaurant and you're going to start from the beginning to the end. Okay. And do all that, then I can probably help you. I can't just sit here and say you'll be fine because I don't know what you've been doing. Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. So next lightning round question here is what types of food, this is from Janice, what types of food are best for healing the adrenals?
Oh, I love that. So I love walnuts for actually adrenals, but the adrenals love saturated fats. Saturated fats, butter's great. I'm just muscle testing to see if it's good for you. Yeah. I think really decent animal protein like red meat. Janice, I don't know how you feel about that, but I really think you will benefit from red meats because adrenals love that kind of food. Chris, don't you think saturated fat's a big, big, big one for adrenals? Also zinc, B vitamins. Oh, adrenals
magnesium.
love. That's right. Adrenals love magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, amino acids. It's really balanced food, isn't it? That's kind of what we're saying. Balanced foods. Yeah.
Yeah, and avoiding sugars too. That's a big one. You have to retrain your system not to feed off of stress-produced sugar internally, and then intaking sugar to counterbalance the low energy that you're having because of the adrenals. The next question is kind of related to sugar, anyway. Potentially, how to rid oneself of toenail fungus.
Well, toenail fungus is hence the fungus. So it's a systemic issue. Toe fungus is, by the time it shows up on your toes, that's a systemic candidiasis. So that means you got systemic level of fungus and yeast growing in your gut, and then they're just showing up in your body. Iodine's been really helpful with that. And, topically, obviously, you probably already know like certain essential oils like tea tree oil and lavender are good. But ultimately, in order to get rid of the toenail fungus, you have to do gut protocol, meaning small intestinal protocol that uses oregano oil and other things. And you got to clean up your diet because it's systemic fungal yeast issues. And your body is getting a little bit pH out of balance a little bit there when I tune into you, a little bit acidic in a way. So that's where I would go first, but topically you could get started with some of the essential oils, but that's only a patchwork, just so you know. Okay.
but more to say on that with iodine when
Yeah,
we do that one.
we'll have to do that, Chris.
Yeah,
Have to.
because that's part of it too when it comes to fungus. Okay, there's one other set of questions. So just says from M. Okay, so this one, there's several things. Let me just start with the one I can easily untangle here, which is Redmond salt compared to Himalayan salt. So I think we're just talking about which salts are
So
ideal.
I don't know what the Redmond salt is. I will look it up, but I get a yes on that. Himalayan salt, I get no.
So the whole thing about salt is there are lots of different types of salt, and you want to look for something that is a whole salt, which usually means it's a sea salt, even more so than like we have sometimes steered people away from Himalayan salts for the simple reason that they are not always harvested in the cleanest way, using explosives and things like that. So you don't ever quite know exactly what you're getting. There is a company that sells what's called real salt out of Utah, and it's pretty much the same idea. It's a rock, kind of a fossil rock salt, which is sea salt. But what you have to do is this little kind of muscle testing thing that Masami's demonstrating all the time under her screen with her hand is you have to learn how to feel which of these salts is talking to your body. And they're going to have different messages. Some of them might make you feel a little tired, and some of them might be, they make a little zing kind of feeling. It might be even too much. So you want to get that Goldilocks salt. You want to have the one that when you pick it up, when you hold it, you feel relaxed, you feel at ease, you feel like you can keep going with your day. Okay, so
And I have to say that the certain Himalayan sea salts, it just depends on which Himalayan sea salt, but a lot of them are mined using dynamites, and they actually use like slave labor from Pakistan, and they're really under terrible conditions. That's where they have to go salt mining. So it's not all that. So it's not that all Himalayan sea salt is bad. But like this morning, I had a client that I tested her 2 Himalayan salts. One was fine and the other one wasn't. And she muscle tested herself too, and she was surprised. And I said, I feel like I don't even want to look at that Himalayan salt because I feel so much sadness. And there's like a pain that comes from that salt. And she's like, really? But that's because there's a history that comes with that salt. So you really want to be careful because you are made out of salt, right? You are minerals. So they are going to speak to you inside you. So you want to be a lot more careful about it. Okay. Yeah.
So there's another question about using oxygenated magnesium for a bowel blockage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know if that's enough information to go on. This is the
Is that a
same person.
question? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking how the question is phrased here.
So I'm familiar with it. It's it's used as almost like a natural laxatives. And but the thing is, okay, so here's the deal, everyone, and I'm going to wrap up soon here. But when people say to me, I don't have any constipation issues, I poop just fine, and and I come to find out that they drink coffee in the morning and they actually end their day with a huge amount of magnesium and vitamin C, that's when I know that person is having a digestive issue. So before I can answer your questions, whether that's good for you or not, you need to look at why are you using that in order to poop? Okay. You have to go to the causal. And this is where I get frustrated with a lot of these supplement usage. Okay. Is that we are looking at the pond. Okay. And then think of a pond with the frogs swimming in it. And then eventually you go to the pond and then you notice that all these frogs or fish or whatever, they're starting to die. And you're like, well, what's going on? So you go to the pet store. Okay. Or I don't know, those stores that sell frogs. I don't know, they're pet stores, but anyway, fish store. Okay. And then you get the fish and the frogs, and then you go back to the pond and then you dump those. Okay, the same number of the fish and frogs that died, and you put them back in there. Okay, and then you go your merry way for like the next 3 days, and then you go back and visit the pond, hoping that they're there. Well, the same frogs and fish all die again, and you do this over and over and over, thinking, "Oh, what's going on? Should I just keep buying these things?" Okay, no. What you need to do is stop buying the frogs and fish and start walking up the stream. Okay, get to the cause of why do you need this magnesium for you to poop? Okay,
So
your
there's more.
your peristalsis should be moving.
So
Okay.
a little more information just came in about a tumor involved, but this is a question that requires a little more attention and depth, I would say, especially than we have time left today. But
yeah, so I get a yes on that, just so you know, M. Okay, I got yes on that magnesium. It's just that I think you want to really look at other ways to get your stools moving, even with the tumor. Okay, and then if you're taking some medications, certain medications can make you constipated. So during that time, is that a better choice than buying a laxatives? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so don't fear taking those. Okay, don't fear taking the magnesium. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with magnesium because most of us are low on magnesium. So it's a good thing to take. Okay. All right. So I think we're good.
Yeah, we should wrap up. There are some good questions. There are a few things that we didn't get to, but it might be good to touch on next time. I'll mention them and then maybe we can pick it up next time. But Sharon mentioned, following up on what you said on the BTO show about muscle testing over the gut, the heart, and the brain. And maybe just to revisit that, so we can come back at another time if that works next week.
Yeah, and then I'm going to probably teach that a lot more on that course. So it's not like an easy comment, it's a process. So that I do. Any other questions?
No new questions, except that there was a question from Lynn about some digestive issues too. Lynn, we might have to pick that one up later, but in terms of iodine, she's recommending a brand. I don't know if you want to say anything about that one quick.
She's recommending.
If you have a recommendation for iodine.
Yeah, let's just do the iodine at a course that we're going to create, because it's a lot more involved in that. And everyone, don't just go and just start buying iodine. If you have shellfish allergies, please don't use iodine right away. Okay, that needs to be addressed.
Or if you have Hashimoto's, if you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's or other thyroid autoimmune conditions.
Although, you know how I feel about that. People have been helped by that. I just don't want to just kind of, it's not a blanket statement, but we are very, very low on iodine as a society. That's for sure. And Jamie said, Carolyn Mace has a lot of interesting information regarding archetypes. Yes, she does. And prostitute as an archetype is one of her archetypes as well. She bases on Carl Jung's work, and I love Carolyn Mace's work. So yeah, that's awesome. Is that it? Is that good? Yeah. Right? Do you have anything to add, Chris?
The only thing, just going back to where I came in, just something that I think it's generally important to remember. I found this to be important for myself, and I just had this pop up in my email this morning, so I'm going to put up the quote that came into my inbox, which said, "It is more important to find out the truth about oneself than to find out the truth of heaven and hell." It is more important to find out the truth about oneself than to find out the truth of heaven and hell. And what to me that means is what we're talking about here, is having this internal dialogue, having this inquiry process with yourself, where you're really, really spending your time and focusing your energy on how to get to know you. Because that's the pathway. If your interest is the higher things, that's your pathway there. You need you to get there. So to learn how you work is to learn how the world works. And if you can trust that, you're going to find that a lot of these questions start to answer themselves.
Even Sharon's question. it's last thing I wanted to mention, everyone, is that we live in such a how-to world. How to. Everybody's asking me, how to, how do I do that? Do you have a manual for that? Do you have a step-by-step guide for that? And, you know, years ago, I was reminded of the importance of really stillness and coming back to your body. And this was my yoga and Ayurveda teacher taught me. She said to me, you know, these Ayurveda teachers, these Ayurveda practices that you've been learning and a yogic practice that you've been learning comes from thousands and thousands of years of, you know, teachings, right? But she said, do you know the origination of that is, she said, I bet you a bunch of, you know, at that point, probably men, a bunch of men sat around in a cave, okay, with the fire, and they really tuned into themselves. That's the original point of knowledge. The original point of knowledge did not come from something that was written and it says how to, or dummies for blah, 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 you know, adrenals for dummies. Like they didn't have books like that then. All right. So when you ask me constantly, how do I, or how to, do you have step by step by step? The answer is, and it's going to irritate most of you. I'll say the answer is in you. You're equipped for this moment, okay? You signed up the contract to be here on this earth right now. As however crazy this is, you're the one that signed up. And you put the signature. You might not have read the small print in the bottom, okay? But you did sign it. So you are equipped for this moment. So please trust that process a little bit more. And more information, more how-tos. I mean, there's so many Pinterests or like, you know, listicles out there that says, do this next and do that next. And, you know, it's just, that's fine to a certain degree. But if you really want to become who you are meant to be on this earth, you have to get out of that treadmill or the rat race of how-to listicles. You do. And you really start to trust who you are. Things are not that linear, first of all, okay? And I would be very, very cautious of anyone that says, follow me because I have 5 steps to become this and this and that. I would be very cautious of that. That's just my little, is it a 10 cents? Is that what you say, a 1 cent?
2 cents, 5 cents. Inflation has gone up since
inflation. So 15 cents.
Yeah.
That's my 15 cents for you. Okay.
Well, so just to wrap up with the comments, yeah, just I don't know if you saw, Sarah, the quote was Hazrat Inayat Khan, who is a Sufi master from the 19th and 20th century. There's also, let's see, oh, Lydia, thank you. Despite the time change, we're kind of juggling that with some other people too, but coming over from the UK, got caught in the daylight savings, but thank you for mentioning becoming the expert of yourself. That is absolutely what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And Ilka,
you know, that's our motto, right, everyone?
Yeah.
You go to our website, it says become the expert of you. That's all I care about, really, for all of you to become the expert of you. And if I can assist you in that journey, I will be happy to. But please don't just follow my back. Okay, I have a very nice butt, but do not just follow my back. Okay, and Chris, will you just read that quote one more time and we'll wrap up?
Yeah.
That in icons.
Okay, it is more important to find out the truth about oneself than to find out the truth of heaven and hell.
Okay, with that, thank you everyone and happy Halloween. Enjoy the process of life and dying at the same time this week. This is an amazing week to be here. Okay. Love all of you. Thank you.